Hey guys, I apologize for the failed voice. I am losing it after being sick. I decided to do my persuasion speech over the injustice of plea bargaining that is allowed in American courts. So as an effort to continuously speed up the court proceedings, America has continuously used plea bargains in order to allow criminal defendants lesser harsh punishments, reduce charges, and allow them to avoid trials, all in efforts just to reduce their full dockets. As you know, judges have a full docket at all times, whether it be hearings, pleadings. They often, always on a daily basis, have something on their docket that requires their attention and keeps them busy. In this sense, the American criminal courts have allowed plea bargaining as a way to offer incentives for criminals to give information, sometimes false information, we never really know. That way they can avoid full sentencing. So, as we continue to be overwhelmed in the American system with mass amount of criminal cases, we notice that more defendants go off and they are not held liable for their wrongdoings, and that's the problem. As a political science major and as written by the New York Times, my research has taught me that over 90% of cases, criminal cases, end up being used in some form of plea bargain, which essentially this means 90% of the time a lot of criminals aren't paying for the wrongdoings that they have acquired on others. And the need for action is simple. By allowing plea bargains to continue to happen, criminals continue to walk free for horrible crimes. These crimes can last anywhere from, or be anywhere from vehicular manslaughter all the way to first-degree murder, and sometimes drug charges. And plea bargaining, there's many forms of it. So we got to keep in mind that by allowing this, we do essentially let criminals walk free. Stutzman with TDT News was able to research a criminal defendant who was let off nearly scratch-free after he committed crimes on another person. This man had committed vehicular manslaughter. Aside from that, he had also created aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Both of these, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, is punishable of an amount of 10 years and up to 20 years of prison. This is according to the Texas Penal Code. And also, intoxication manslaughter can go up to 20 years. And the reason being it's not held to life is because intoxication manslaughter, the intoxication does mean they didn't intentionally commit the slaughter of another individual. However, this gentleman, he had committed or inserted himself into the way of a plea deal with his attorney, and he was essentially let off. All of his charges were dismissed, dropped, and basically this defendant, Martin's face value was more in demand than actually allowing the defendant's family, or I'm sorry, the victim's family, to see charges fully prosecuted on the defendant. And that's a problem. As we continue to allow this to happen, we're not essentially giving families the closure that they need. So unfortunately, criminals are no longer held accountable to what is the suggested standard of law according to federal law, state law, local level law, Texas Penal Code specifically. According to history, we see that plea bargaining wasn't even a tactful source in the legal system. And back in the day, and this was in the old days, whenever the U.S. finally came into play, only 10% of all criminal cases were using plea bargains. That essentially means 90% of the cases were being tried to the fullest extent. However, things take a turn when we see defendants walking free 90% of the time, as said previously. Let's take, for example, Miss Washington. ABC News journalist Newcomb has actually researched Miss Washington, who accepted a plea bargaining to only rendering criminal assistance rather than first degree. Now, first-degree murder, again, according to Texas Penal Code, is subjected to possibly anywhere from 25 years to life in prison. With the plea bargaining, essentially, Miss Washington, former pageant winner, was able to give information to her attorney and the prosecution side, the opposing counsel, to allow herself to only be charged with rendering criminal assistance and ways to dispose of a body. So with that being said, she only served up to 4 years in prison and was let go for a crime that should have been up to life in prison. So at the end of this, I have my conclusion for you. Although criminals are also no longer accountable to what is the suggested standard of law, I believe in order to make it a more fair justice system in America, and you may think that this is irrelevant to you, but would you want the courts to dismiss a case that you brought against another opposing party that had done harm to you or your family? Or would you rather the defendant be held to the highest accountability? With that being said, I suggest the dismembering for the same reason as provided throughout this speech. No criminal should walk free for crimes such as aggravated assault or murder. More judges should be allowed in the court or appointed in the court in order to keep the dockets more clear and have a more divided way of government being able to actually have time to get to all these on the dockets. So we see cases like this all the time. We read it in the news. It's suggested in New York Times. We see the history. And I fully believe that plea bargaining is an injustice in America, and it shouldn't be completely eliminated. Thank you.